all we've lost, all that's been done to us, we're setting that right again. Greetings. Welcome to the headquarters of the human resistance.
Where's my hair?
Your hair has been destroyed to prevent you from contacting your ship.
What ship?
Your mothership?
Okay.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Here we go again.
Greetings and welcome to the Anadrome. This is Burn Power coming to you from Tbilisi, Georgia. Still moving slowly because of my broken arm, which has been patched up, but I haven't had the staples taken out yet, which I will have in a couple of days. And I'm moving pretty slow, and I saw this movie. I've tried to see a couple of movies in the theaters. The first one was The Black Phone 2. Interesting film, but that was painful to go watch a movie in the theaters. And then I saw the film of today's discussion, Bugonia, by director Yorgos Lanthimos. And I thought I'd better talk about this one. But I saw it a few days back, but I haven't been in a rush to talk about it because you'll be hearing a lot more about this during awards season. And I thought, plus I'm moving slow still. We'll talk, I'll give you more of an update at the end of the movie discussion about where I am. And this is my first official film, first official video since my accident. Okay, Yorgos Lanthimos, Bugonia. Yorgos Lanthimos is a very strange, definitely postmodern filmmaker. His films are dripping in irony and dripping in all sorts of strange emotions. On the postmodern scale, I would in some way put him closer to David Lynch than I would say to Quentin Tarantino. His earlier films like Dogtooth and The Lobster are really exercises in absurdity and also lashings of nihilism. The Favorite got him noticed by the Hollywood establishment, and he has been making the awards round. Emma Stone became a nominated actress during that point, awards a nominated actress because of him. And so she has kind of hitched her train up to his engine. And she won an Academy Awards for Best Actress doing his Poor Things. So what do I feel about him? He's really interesting. And at the same time, I'm not bowing down to him as a great director. I think his kind of surrealistic nihilism and postmodernism means that I find something worth watching, but at the same time, there's something that holds me back as well. I much prefer David Lynch, who I can feel the beating heart of David Lynch beneath his kind of his absurdity and strangeness. Now, Bugonia, what does that mean? I think a person just looking at it would immediately go, oh, it's the flower, but it's not spelled the same. Bugonia has to do with an ancient Greek ritual regarding smoking bees to get the wax, to separate the wax and the honey from each other. It had more ritualistic implications. And Yorgos Lanthimos, being Greek, I am sure understands this very well. Just as I am sure very few people watching the film will understand this. Although, the first scene in the movie involves smoke and beehives. And I'm just saying, and that's something that becomes very clear by the end of the film. Now, before we get too far into this, let me just point out, we have a weird situation that's developed over the years. People, because of the Hollywood phobia about straightforward narratives and also wanting to do the politically correct thing as often as possible, making sure you have all the appropriate actors who do not fit the category they belong to, the DEI hires and that sort of thing. We've ended up in a situation where, for instance, there are many horror films these days that people argue, is it a horror film or is it not? And the reason is because horror films, among others, have had their genres mixed with all sorts of others. The most common one that people complain about is they'll say, ooh, Silence of the Lambs is really a thriller, not a horror film. And one thing I've learned over the years is thriller is a category that doesn't mean much. For instance, there's no encyclopedia of thrillers. Why? No one knows what it means. I mean, people say, well, yeah, I know what it means. It's police stuff, mysteries and stuff. But we have words for those. They're called crime films, mysteries, policiers, whodunit, heist films, all this other stuff. So to me, it's like almost a evaporating concept, where horror, on the other hand, is not. So I'm all up on putting, say, Silence of the Lambs in horror films. Now, that was during a time in the 90s when this issue that I'm about to describe wasn't even in full bloom yet. Now, you get films that are, for instance, and you really see this with horror films, things that are mixtures. Is that horror or science fiction? Although those two go together quite well. Is that a psychological drama or is it a horror film? And it goes on and on. For instance, there's a whole category of films that I've discovered that I don't think anyone wants to talk about because simply identifying the category means you know who the central villain in the piece is. And that is what I would call psycho women films. So there was a film that came out, I don't think I'm going to be spoiling anything by saying this because no one cares about this actress much anymore. But there was a film that came out in the aughts called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. And you would think that there's the usual psycho killer going around killing everyone. And it turns out that it's the Mandy Lane character played by Amber Heard. You don't suspect her. But if I tell you, what kind of film is this? I go, it's a psycho film, a killer film. Okay, fine. But since there are so many now female psycho killer films, a certain amount of them, it's spoiled as soon as you know what kind of genre it is, which I think is really interesting. Psycho women films don't have to be psycho killer films. So there was a film that came out in the 90s called Kissed about a girl who, should we say, developed a rather unhealthy fixation with dead bodies. That's a psycho woman film too, even though I think she kills one person in that film. But basically, she's not a psycho killer. She's just a psycho woman. There's another category that's similar, cabal horror. Again, it's a category not many people have identified for very similar reasons. Kill List is a great film. And people want you to go into Kill List thinking it's an assassin movie. It's in the category of John Wick or, something like that. Atomic Blonde. But it isn't. It's a cabal horror film. And as soon as you know that, now you're going, oh, okay. which is a very strange thing that's happened. That we now have categories of films that's simply categorizing a film. So people tend to use mood categorizations now, rather than subject categorizations. But I use subject categorizations, and the reason is, as I've explained in other videos, is because I have physical media, and you gotta put it someplace. You just can't throw it up and say, oh, we don't know what this is. Yeah, we do. So what is Bugonia? Is it a horror film? Well, it's certainly got some pretty horrific images in it. So, is it a thriller? Whatever that is, but kinda, yeah. Is it a psychological drama? Yes, indeed, it is. Is it a comedy? Well, I think it's an extraordinarily black comedy. Maybe the blackest comedy I've seen for years, but I'll come back to that. And then there's one other category that unfortunately, I know where I would file this if someone just handed it to me, and I didn't have a separate section which will solve all my problems. And that separate section is a director's section, so all the weird Yorgos Lanthimos films can go in that section. But there's a category I think this film really is. But if I tell you, I ruin the film. And we're back in the Psycho Woman or Cabal horror film kind of thing, where just knowing what category it is ruins the film. I think once you've seen the film, then it doesn't matter. But yes, indeed, this is a black comedy. And whatever else it is, it's a black comedy. I would say that actually, if I didn't have a Yorgos Lanthimos section, where would I put it? Oh my goodness. Would I put it in the comedy section, or would I put it in the unnamed section? And that's something I would debate with myself, which unfortunately I don't have to do. But this film is as bleak at the end, and funny too, as Dr. Strangelove. It's as bleak, I don't know, this is a film that a lot of people haven't seen. The Ruling Class was about a film from the 1970s starring Peter O'Toole, who thinks he's Jesus, and he's a young, wealthy aristocrat. And somewhere along the line, someone finally convinces him he's not Jesus. And then he suddenly realizes who he really is, coming to himself. He's Jack the Ripper. And this film is just, it goes along and it's just at the end, it's completely black. And yet it's been funny the whole time. And I would say Bugonia is on that level. You got these incredible performances, which we'll discuss in a moment. But, how to take the ending of this film. I'm not going to say what it is. But all I know is you kind of laugh, and you get that same feeling you had at the end of Dr. Strangelove. Just this kind of like, the whole world's blowing up. So the film stars Emma Stone, who, like I say, has hitched her wagon to Yorgos Lanthimos. And I think whatever problems I had with Poor Things, and I had some serious philosophical problems with Poor Things, Emma Stone definitely was worthy of an Oscar that year. In whatever weird sense, whatever that means now. Does that mean anything anymore? And I think she will be up for Best Actress Oscar again with this film. That's what you get for shaving your head. And I think that, I'll go out on a limb and say this is my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos film. I've seen about 4 or 5 of them. And I will go out and say this is my favorite because he gets all his postmodern, subversive, quote unquote, kind of weird, nihilistic stuff out of his system. And yet, in the acting of Emma Stone and the second major actor, Jessie Plemmons, he gets some absolutely astounding performances from them. And you're really emotionally invested. And what's interesting is he doesn't tell you what to think about their acting and who's right and who's wrong. Absolutely amazing. I mean, you'll be tempted to come up with an answer way before it happens. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it.
Okay, because I know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to say that I'm in some kind of internet-induced, auto-hypnotic feedback loop and gatekeepers and norms and all that weak hegemonic horse shit. But that is precisely the limp dick rhetoric that you've been instructed to counter the human insurgency with.
About it. But Jessie Plemmons is someone who's been rising in my estimation. I remember at one point I thought he was kind of a discount Philip Seymour Hoffman. But he has had some very interesting roles. There was a comedy that came out called Date Night, and he plays this policeman who lives next door to this, shall we say, comedically dysfunctional couple. But his deadpan humor in that was absolutely astounding. In the movie Civil War that came out last year, he stole the movie. He was only in it for about 15 minutes. He stole the whole movie. And he's the guy who says, well, what kind of an American are you? And I have developed more and more respect for him. And I think he will be up for an award for this performance. I don't think he's ever been up for an Academy Award yet. I could be wrong, but. So what is the plot, basically? Two brothers kidnap a very powerful woman CEO. They shave her head. All this is in the trailer. And they say, well, we know who you really are. You're really an alien. And it is a psychodrama after that. And there's much more to the film than that, but that is the basic nuts of it. And all I can say is, by the time we're done, we're not sure what's going on. And if you like films that provoke thinking, this is for you. If you like films that are well made, if you're a film nerd, you're on this already. Film geek. Maybe I should. What's the difference between a nerd and a geek? Anyway, I don't label myself as either. I just study this stuff. But yeah, there's humor in it. And sometimes the humor is in the place you're not expecting it. And that's one of the things that makes this film worth watching. So I'm going to leave it there. That's my summary of what I saw. Maybe later at the end of the year, I'll discuss it more when I wrap things up this year. Unfortunately, this broken arm has left me kind of reeling, and it's really difficult because I get distracted. And you might notice that while I'm talking to you now, the pain will distract me now and then. And there still is pain 3 weeks later after the operation. So let me give you an update on the operation. So yeah, I went in, spent 2 days in the hospital, lying on my back, unable to literally do anything. Try just having one hand and using your phone. It just doesn't work. Try to swipe with one finger and holding, because the other hand was involved with whatever pain I had gone through. And I was so ready to get out of there after 3 days. 2 days. And because it was just like, get me home. At least I can sit and watch YouTube videos or movies. And I've kind of been transitioning over from YouTube videos. I can watch them easier because they're in bits and chunks. And my sleeping schedule has been crazy. Last night was not a good night for sleeping because I've developed a back problem from having to sit so much. I spent 25 days or so going every morning about 10 o'clock in the morning to get an injection of a anticoagulant. And the ironic thing is they'd give me the injection and I wouldn't bleed. And I'm going like, well, isn't that the whole point? But that's for the arm to not get blood clots and such. But yeah, very difficult. I've had a few friends come over and help me. I'm now at the point where I can twist bottle caps off by myself. But at first, it was just like I'd have a friend come over and say, please, please, twist this bottle cap. Cut this meat for me. Because it's so hard. Cutting meat is still a bit hard. And yeah, it's just been a very, I talk about time and how there are different kinds of times. This is one of the strangest kinds of times I've ever been through. Just grindingly slow. My mind isn't good for much because I can't concentrate. So reading, unfortunately, is out because whether you know it or not, it takes two hands to read. You have to have one to flip the pages. And holding the book becomes a difficult problem. And yeah, but here are two aspects of the good news related to this. One aspect is that the whole thing cost, I think it was close to, we'll say close to $3,000, maybe $700 when I factor in all of the different payments, maybe closer to $4,000. Basically, the whole operation was, and 2 nights in the hospital, all the drugs and nurses' care and drips of feeding into my arms and everything else. All of that cost less than the ambulance ride in Alaska, or not Alaska, anywhere almost in America. It's hard to find a cheap ambulance, especially if you're not insured. So, so I am grateful to have the care here. Now, was the care the same as I would have gotten in America? No. There was a certain lack of a certain kind of bedside manner that we're all used to in America. And that is people saying, okay, well, we're about to shoot you. You're going to feel a bit of a prick here. Whereas there were some nurses who'd come in and they just, hook you up and stick something in you. And you'd look at like, oh, that hurt. And they were like, really? Because Georgians are not about complaining. Georgians are not high maintenance people. So they're always a little confused when Americans look like, oh, that hurt. And they go, really? But they often say that Americans give good service in restaurants because they want tips, and so they're always friendly. Europeans complain about that. I think they do, and that certainly feeds into it. But I think something similar happens in American hospitals, where people are very friendly to you because they don't want to be sued out of existence. And one of the reasons, no one talks about this too much, but one of the big reasons why our health costs are so crazy in America is because of Americans love to sue each other. Big amounts. Now, they won't necessarily settle for the big amount, but, if they want $20,000, they'll start at $500,000. And maybe they'll get $200,000. And so, most doctors and, health clinics and hospitals in America are absolutely afraid of that. So, they will be really nice to you, But no, I am glad for the service I had here. And it was interesting. I'm going to do a video at some point on my Georgian Crossroads channel discussing more of my time in the hospital and how I saw that. The second thing is, if you notice here, right here, there is a mark. And that's not just a mark. That's an indentation where my head hit these really rough-hewn, not finished concrete steps. The kind of steps that on the edge have, cement ripples still in them because they're not finished. Certainly nothing on it to protect anybody. And when I fell so hard that I broke my arm in 3 places. And I was kind of, reaching out. I realize now one of the reasons I fell so awkwardly is because I had about 20 pounds, 10 kilos worth of meat I had just bought, fresh meat. And what happened was when I started to fall, the meat slipped to the side and took me with it, got me way off balance. So, but here's the thing. Had I not hit my arm and broken it in 3 places, all of that pressure, really bad pressure, would have gone right to there. And you know what? The Anadromist Channel and the Anadrome and Georgian Crossroads and Gravity from Above would probably be over one way or another. So, I am so grateful for all of you pitching in. It's the kind of thing that I feel like really grateful to have people kind of watching my back in a degree, since I don't really have a family anymore. I have a couple of cousins in Seattle, Washington, but I don't have really close people, and they're quite far away. So, okay. Well, this is my first official waving from at you from Tbilisi, Georgia, here on the Anadrome. And we'll call it quits there and say, as we often do, Madloba, which means thank you in Georgian, or thanks, or Didi Madloba, which is big thanks, or Zalyan Didi Madloba, very big thanks, and Droebit, which means we will indeed meet again.
When I go, I want you to give me 5 minutes. I told you boys I'm no escape artist. For the first time, I like the odds.
At the round earth's imagined corners, blow your trumpets, angels, and arise, arise from death, you numberless infinities of souls.
I know who you are. I know what you are.
I know you too, Teddy.
It's fine, it's cool.